surface through curves mesh. So I'll just show you this. So a through curves will only use two lines. So if I say I want this line, and then you middle click or whatever, and then you select the next one, then I want this line, it'll go from one to the other, right? In one direction. But if I want it to also follow these side ones, that is the mesh surface through curves mesh. And we're going to use both of these later. So I select the primary curves, which will be this one, and I middle click and say this one. And then I go to cross curves, and I want this cross curve, and I middle click and this cross curve. And there it gives me that surface, right? Okay? And since those sketches are parametric, and since they will change with the expressions, so should the, dang it, I lost it again. Yeah, this point's not staying constrained. Let's just do this and show you one that works. All right, here's the one I did from a year ago, and it works. If you have real crazy stuff, sometimes it might mess up. But for some simple stuff, we can change this. Okay, never mind, that didn't work either. If this works, if this breaks for you, then we'll take a look at it. But as you can see, it should. These guys should stay constrained. If anyone can figure out what this problem is, because I didn't figure it out when I tried this, it seemed to still work for me when I did it. I'll see there I'm having some overlap there, so that's might be what happened. Expressions. Yeah, okay. Well, try and get that one to work. So that first one should be pretty easy, right? Assuming it works. All right, so the next one is this guy here. So what I've done is you're going to probably spend the most time just making sketches and everything, getting the whole thing set up and planning out how you're going to make this thing, all the sketches and how they work together. So what I did for this one is I made 4 datum planes. I have the bottom one, which represents basically this right here, and then I have this one another plane on top of that, and I made a box for the bottom and another one for this one here, which represents this one, and then the upper 2 datum planes, one for here and one for the top, right? And I've made these sketches. So if I look at this one, I've put geometric constraints on this, so all 4 sides are the same, and also the midpoint of this line is constrained to the datum coordinate system point, as well as this one. So no matter if I change side length, it will always stay centered around this point, and each of the sides will change. And then when I made on this sketch, I just simply drew this sketch. I did the same thing, or I just kind of drew it on top of this one, and so it will follow whatever the bottom one does. And so if I change that, so I have the expressions. I've made 5 expressions. So I have circle diameter, which is this one up here, and then circle height, which is basically the distance between these 2 datum planes, and then the distance squared to circle, which is the distance from this datum plane to this datum plane. And that was just another one of when I created the datum plane, I said at distance, and then I set it to that expression. And then square height, which is this one here, from this datum plane to this datum plane, and then square side length. So if I change this one like that, then the square will get smaller. If I make this height like this, it'll move this up, and therefore the rest of them will move up, and everything else like that, right? And then as well as the top. Now the tricky thing about this one, this is you're going to want to remember. These sketches here, this is not a full circle. These are 4 arcs, and the reason for that is because when you make these blue surfaces here, you can't go from one side to the whole thing, and you can't go from all 4 sides to the whole thing. You're going to need to make 4 separate ones. So you're going to want to have 4 arcs that go from this point to this point that line up with the corners. And so basically you can think of a way to do that. In this one I just made, what I did was I simply made 2 reference lines from the corners of these sketches down there, and that'll get me the diagonals. And then I just made 4 arcs with a center point and a radius that the endpoints were constrained onto this reference line. And then I set all of them to be equal radius. And then I also set one constraint to be that, right? And then the sketch on top, I just basically wrote on top of the one on the bottom. Okay, so this isn't the only way to do it. There are other ways to do it. What you need to do is just basically think out, how am I going to make this thing parametric, and then go from there. So then all we need to do is then we make these, make the surfaces. So once again, we're going to do insert, mesh surface, and for this case, we're going to do the through curves because we don't have any cross curves. So if we say through curves, and we go this line, and you middle click, and this line, it'll make a surface like that. If you select, this is something that's probably going to happen to more than one person. If you select this one and you don't middle click, and you try and click that one, it's going to throw an error because it thinks you're trying to select the same line for the first line. After each line, you have to middle click. So this one, middle click, this one, apply. The list. Thank you. Good idea. Do the students on Tandberg have a question, or would the foreign schools that are dialed in on Tandberg please mute your mics unless you have a question? We're getting some feedback from your mics. Okay, another thing, you want to make sure that you always click on the same side. If I click on this line, you'll notice there's an arrow right there that's pointing this way. If I click over here, then the arrow is going to point that way, and it's going to throw, oh, actually I didn't do that. So if I click here, and I middle click, and I click on this side, it's going to, the arrows are pointing in the wrong direction, so it's trying to do kind of a bow tie thing. It's trying to go from here to there, and there to here. So if I just double click on that, then it'll set the arrows on the right side. And apply. So like that. All right. And then I'm going to do the same thing up here with these sketches. So if I go from here, oh wow, cancel that. That was bad. Insert mesh surface through curves. So here, there, apply. Okay, so I'm going to make another one up here. Here's something else I noticed that NX does. So I selected one of these curves, but it selected all of them because it thinks I want to do all of them. And in theory, I could do that and then click this one, and it will make that surface there, but that's going to just make one surface, not 4, I believe. Actually, oh, and then also like covered up the top and bottom. So we actually don't want that. So we're going to get rid of that guy. But what you can do, I discovered, is through curves. If you click on a curve like that and it selects the whole thing, right click on that curve, not the arrow, the curve, like that, and say single curve, because it's selecting all the tangent curves as well. So if you say single curve, it'll just select that one. So we just want that one, and it should stay on that single curve from now on. So if I click on this one, say what? Oh, right. Thank you, Phil. So you can also do that here, single curve instead of tangent curves. So once again, it's throwing this error because these arrows are pointing the wrong direction. So if I just flip that, oh wait, no. I forgot to middle click. So that one, middle click, this one, and there's that curve. So I would just do that for all of these. Oh. Apply. Middle click that one. And apply. Okay, so now I have those, and then here's the other tricky thing with this. So we're going to make another mesh curve from this line, and then we'll go to this curve. I'll see it's trying to flip it, so we flip that back and it goes right. Now it'll make one a surface like that, but if we want this to be tangent, coming tangent with this surface, we can go here to continuity. So the first section, we want not just to be tangent by position, but also by, or we want the surface to be tangent. And which face do we want to be tangent to? This one right here. And then on the back, we also want it to be tangent to this one. So now